Were you able to do the recordings of the previous classes?
Uh, I did one, the first one. So, but I'm not so happy with that sphere. Like I don't think I got it right.
Okay.
But I haven't. I mean, the others I haven't yet. I was too ambitious. I thought I would finish the other two as well, but not yet. I will in
Just
a day.
share on the group if you have any questions. Uh,
Fine, fine.
or if you need some feedback now, just put it on the group as and
I,
when I can make time, then I can give you some direction. Sometimes it's just maybe a minor tip here or there
yeah,
can
I'll.
help you.
So the vases was slightly better than the sphere. The sphere, I think I need to get the science of it. Like I'm struggling with that part of it.
Oh, no, you
Like
don't.
I don't know.
Tell me more. Why do you think you need the science behind it?
Like I need to know where the light is hitting, or I mean, my brain is working on that, so I think I'm going wrong because of that.
Okay, so if you watch it, I think there will be an explanation of what shades come where on a sphere. There is most spheres which are lit in one particular manner will have patches of shadow of varied tones in
Hmm.
a particular sequence. So I've tried to give that explanation also. The moment you change the source of light, all of that changes as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But even if you do not know anything about that, all you need to do is observe the subtle changes in the tone and not preempt a result. Normally, we would think of highlight, a mid-tone, a shaded area, and a shadow. So if we just peer into that illustration or image, reference image with more detail and allow for more than one mid-tone, more than one dark shade, and recognize the subtle differences, then you will just be able to see that the way it is. We draw what we see.
Yeah, I should. Share the images a little once this class is over
Yeah,
because today I'm using my phone, and then I'll.
yeah.
Then you can see whether how what seems to also the demarcation between the dark and the light is seems to be where I'm getting a very distinct. Like I
Mm.
think you mentioned about going lightly, slowly. So I started off going very harsh over those
Uh,
there. So then again, it's like to get this thing becomes difficult.
yeah. So that in that case, the trick really is more about controlling your hand movements
Mhm.
more than the getting the right shade. You will get the right shade. We need to just keep applying that graphite on the paper layer by layer. And sometimes it just comes down to how you hold the pencil. Very often, when we are writing, we hold the pencil so close and we require one uniform pressure. That's what we're used to. So, the moment you hold the pencil a little further away, our hand does not move very smoothly. It's almost like, in my case, if I were to try to do this with my left hand, my whole
Mhm.
hand moves, and that adds more pressure, making everything a little shoddy. So, the simple trick is to plant your hand down and just move your fingers and hold the
Mhm.
pencil really far away. So, there isn't much force in the grip in the first place, and then that movement starts becoming more subtle.
I,
Then,
I look at it and I say, I can't see. So I go again over it. And I think there I have to be happy with what I can't see and what seems to me like can't see. We're so used to the, dark, like you're saying, of writing or of on the screen where things are so much more in contrast. So
Hmm.
when that contrast is less, it's like, no, I can't see it.
True. Another thing that might happen is also the that maybe you start shading the lighter sections first, as it would be normal, but don't make those darker until you have done the slightly darker shades
Uh,
and then the
yeah,
deeper shades, and then keep checking how the whole neighborhood looks. So
yeah,
everything is light or dark, uh, according to the context, according
correct.
to the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
I think that is where I kind of miss, because I start doing that one section, I get into that in so much detail, and then when I see the next part, then it's, oh gosh,
Mhm.
this should have been lighter. So
Right.
yeah.
So this is one thing that is done whenever you work with a achromatic or monochromatic scale. You keep deepening certain sections over time. So you keep jumping from one section to another section and keep adding darker tones to that. And then this itself translates later on into even watercolor when you, whatever topic you are doing, whether it's still life, whether it's landscape, portrait, you always start with light tones and then you repeat something and make those into midtones, and then repeat some more areas where you make those into darker tones, and then start making it deeper and deeper. So the layering gives you depth. If we try to put in a deep color in one shot, it remains very two-dimensional. You don't get the depth. So now we are going to do something completely different, exactly opposite for today's class. So this one is all this explanation, please just throw it out of the window right
Okay.
now. Because don't do that for today's topic at all. I don't know when they are joining, but I'll bring them up to speed. We can begin. All right. So have either of you seen paintings by Picasso? You must have come across them. And do you have any opinions about the artists or the paintings? They don't have to be flattering.
Not at all. Can't understand all the squares and the shapes, and they look beautiful, but like you want to make sense out of it, which it doesn't.
So this is the reason I'm asking you this question is because today I want you to firmly just state what your, at least just indicate what your impression of Picasso is before we do the study, and then there will be some kind of understanding of the topic, and there could be some change. I'm not guaranteeing that your opinion will change, and you don't have to force that. You don't have to force yourself to like it. You can still continue to be confused with the artwork, but making a statement and being able to vocalize what your experience regarding that painting is very vital when it comes to appreciating modern art. So the whole movement of modern art, I guess, began with the Impressionists little by little. Obviously, they didn't know that this would be modern art, but they started out a process which then later on turned into modern art, also contemporary art. Any art of the current is contemporary art, but still, the modern art movement has its own version of contemporary art. I'm going to put all these things very simply. I'm sure you'll be able to read lots of articles, going into great depth about all these different movements. As in, when you get time, please do read through them. Some of them are deliberately confusing, I feel, because it just makes the person who is writing feel very intelligent sometimes. And I don't want to create that fallacy about myself. So my interaction with modern art been has come later. The only thing that I maintained is an open mind going into it. Everyone starts out looking at modern art paintings like Picasso with much confusion, and the first, I think, universal response is, my kid could do it. Not I could do it. My kid could do it. A 4-year-old could do it. And that is actually, if you think about it, what Picasso intended. So he has been successful in making a painting look so simple or simplified that even a 4-year-old can appreciate the lines. But when we think about the fact that a Picasso painting is, to date, one of the most expensive paintings ever bought or sold, and the top three paintings, which now are in someone's private collection, we don't even know, are ridiculous. I don't think even they know how much they've been sold for. Then you wonder, why would a painting that a 4-year-old could paint become this sought after? So in anything related to art, 50% is marketing. That has been the case, I think, forever. If you can sell a story well, then the painting will sell, whatever it be. Case in point being the Kardashians or Taylor Swift tickets, anything. If you market it well, it will garner curiosity and people will buy it. But the 50% that is truly about art is also valid in the case of Picasso. And that is what I would like to focus on. So forget the price. But when we look at any kind of modern painting, it is more about the expression of the artist in response to something that the artist is trying to experiment with or trying to understand. So in many cases, you will find the artist's expression almost like a jumble of things, a jumble of colors, shapes, forms, and they can often be rather confusing. So it's something that we need to learn over a period of time. The paintings from the classical era, where you have beautiful figures, very lovely paintings of people in various situations, were very direct to appreciate. If you also were part of the mythology behind it, then you understood what all those figures stood for. So you can easily go to a Sistine Chapel and marvel at the beautiful pictures of a paradise, because you have a background, and then the visualization of paradise is something that you find easy to appreciate. And also the skill of the artist makes it a piece of awe. But what the modern artist did was not just present something very directly. It's not something that you look at and say, oh my God, this is so great. It was something they wanted to add more dimension to the experience. So they, in many cases, you have to suspend this feeling of awe and being impressed. But what they would like you to do is actually respond in other emotions. So very often you will come across a piece of art that makes you feel even disgusted. And this is so different from what you might think art is meant to do. It is meant to make you feel happy or give you some pleasure. But in modern art, it is meant to be a statement. It is meant to excite some response from the viewer. It does not need to please. The artist does not need you to like their work. But I often maintain, if you walk into a modern art museum and you come out unchanged, without feeling anything, that is a waste of your time and waste of all that museum art as well. So if you just go in and if you're expecting that I want everything to be awesome, and if it is not awesome, I don't like it and I'm going to walk away, that is wasting an amazing experience. So when you go into a modern art museum, it's important to read the plaque and understand what the artist is trying to do over here. Many of them have very interesting histories, and they also have a very interesting trajectory. Some of their later work is usually what is sought after and put in the galleries for everyone to view. Sometimes, if you are lucky, some of their earlier work is also available. So you can see physically how they have transitioned from being one kind of artist to another kind of artist. There have been lots of movements in modern art. And in the case of Picasso, the movement that he embraced is called Cubism. So there were a few people who decided that we want to move away from whatever is current, we want to move away. We want to do something different. And a lot of creative thought actually comes from putting a concept in words, and then moving away and creating a visual image of that concept. So, in the case of Picasso, he was a prolific painter. By the age of 16, he was very talented, and he was able to do any kind of painting as the Impressionists did. So, to give you a timeline, he was born towards the tail end of the Impressionist age. So, he saw all these artists and has made quite a few paintings in that in that style, one might say, similar style. But his contemplation was more about how he can manipulate space and dimension. So if it's almost like a process of design thinking, that you are given a particular reference image, and you're not required to stick to the earlier rules. What can you do differently with this reference image, so that I know that you have drawn inspiration from this reference image, but it should not be an exact copy of it. So what are the things one can play with? You can play with color, you can play with form, you can play with what you're trying to depict. So in his case, he was trying to, and now here's the part where it contrasts with what I was trying to explain earlier. He is trying to change dimension. So instead of, let's say we take the face of a person who is, oh, 1 minute, who it's a, like, 1 second. What am I doing? Yeah. So consider the fact that you are given a person's portrait to make. And in the past, we've really tried to put in a whole lot of depth, so that on the canvas, which is a two-dimensional object, you are trying to create the illusion of 3 dimension. So you're adding shades, you're adding some color, some highlights, so that that face looks like it's almost a real face. You can reach out and touch it. So he says, okay, I know I can do that, but how about if I change that, and I will show you a face, and I will show you 3 dimensional face, but I will flatten it, and you will still be able to see the face that I want you to see. So it's a challenge that he tried for himself. Now, at the same time, there's also another movement which was called minimalism. So in minimalism, you try to reduce the factors that you are trying to present. So if you wanted to show a person, like you must have seen that illustration of Mahatma Gandhi, which is just a line. So it's just a representation of a caricature. So that is minimalist art. So in this case, he says, if I have a texture, I'll minimize it to just a few lines or few colors, just a few dots, and that will represent whatever I'm trying to show you. So I'm going to share the images so I can speak about these images in detail. Now, if you look at this image, just on the face of it, literally, you find that it is extremely distorted, and it is definitely a face. But if you keep looking at it, you can start seeing certain curious applications of line. So if I were to, I'm going to just manipulate a few things over here. If I were to cover this side, this looks like one face. This doesn't move, I think. Oh. And then, of course, if I cover this part, this looks like another face. Oh, sorry, my WhatsApp has just died. Give me 2 minutes. So you could see how that just how the lines are drawn, it can change what you are seeing. That's the best part about art. A little bit of a change in line and everything changes. Now, if we were to do it in portraiture and it doesn't look like how it's supposed to look, we consider it a mistake. So I often tell all students that it's not a mistake if it is not what you expected. It will open a door, crack a little window to something that could be your original take on things. So in this case, the slight change of the shape of the nose, or the nose becoming two-dimensional and entering into the space which would otherwise have been the side of the face, all of that creates a very different illusion. And that is what we are looking out for. So within this page, within this picture, you will see a face that seems to be looking at you. At the same time, it seems to be looking to one side. It seems to be in light. It also seems to be in shadow. It could be smiling or frowning or crying. It could be indoors, outdoors. It could be a man, woman. There's lots of things that are possible. So it becomes a very graphic style. And because the lines are very simple, it's not trying to be very pretentious. It's not trying to make it like a surrealist painting, which is another style of art, where they would, that's more like a dream-like, I guess, painting. The topics are more unpredictable. They are more fantasy. So here it's not fantasy, but it is definitely not realistic. Okay, I think this has started again. Let me share it one more time. So this is a good break. Now look at the picture differently. You could easily say that the face on the left looks like that of a man. Could be. The face on the right looks like it could be the face of a woman because she's got hair. One ear is visible. The position that she's sitting in, on the left, it could be that she's sitting looking at the person in front. On the right, it looks like she's sitting looking at us. Now, moving on to the next picture. Here, there's even more distortion. So everything regarding the painting is evocative. It'll give you a feeling. It'll create a sense of something. Often distorted lines create a sense of disturbance. Picasso was famous. I think he must be the most famous womanizer painter that existed. He was always looking at who the next woman is that he could use as a muse, but that muse often went a little further than just being a muse. So I think there was he had this practice of engaging in a relationship to be inspired by the mystery of the woman. And then the more time he spent, the mystery started dissolving and he started becoming less and less enchanted by the woman, and the pictures would then start becoming more and more distorted. So here also is a lovely painting, but this doesn't even look like a Picasso. It looks quite soft. I need to keep checking whether this is even a Picasso. But this definitely is. This is a limited edition print that he had made. This is a picture of his first wife or second wife, I think Dora Maar. And she, poor thing, she was such a all-suffering woman. And she really put up with all of his antics. And this is what he made out of her. It's just so sad. But it's a beautiful painting if you look at the background, just what he is trying to represent. And then from a graphic perspective, uh, see where how the face and what looks like almost a handkerchief held to her mouth and to her eyes, but it's a transparent looking handkerchief. where there are two hands. The hands outside are more rounded. The hands which are inside the handkerchief are more square. They could be another person's hand. They could be a man's hand also who is holding a handkerchief to her eye. There's so many possibilities. The eyes themselves are upturned. The eye on the right looks like the pupil is falling out of the eye socket towards the right. The one on the left looks like it's looking upward because the lid is on below. It's all just really weird. So when I saw this, I would find this painting as a younger person, I found them really grotesque. Then 20 years ago, there was this exhibition at in Bombay of Picasso paintings. When I saw them in real life, there was definitely, I was able to see them very differently. Looking at a painting at this scale versus the scale that they are made in, that too can change our perception. Now this one, we don't see the details really but this is a huge painting. It's quite a large canvas. And in that, you see so much more detail. Plus, the shapes are of a certain size that are that can be very imposing. And you start appreciating what it is trying to say when, say, you have the head of a bull looming on top of you, and it's about 4 feet tall, in a painting that is 7 feet tall. It makes a completely different impact. Seeing it as at this size or in a book just doesn't do any justice to the picture. So this painting was made in protest of the Spanish Civil War. And there are so many things that he has drawn here which are still valid for any kind of war. First is the complete lack of color. It shows a painting which is completely obviously devoid of joy. And everything is broken, everything is shattered. And there is terror in the eyes of the animals, the people, there is sorrow. So, given the theme of sorrow or war, I think this works very well. And lots of things are suspended in the air. So it almost seems like this is suspended animation. It's something that is going on forever. It's a frozen frame from something that is ongoing. It's not an aftermath, it is perpetual. So now, before I continue with my monologue, we are going to start painting. I want you to choose whichever one of these pictures you want to make. You can make, if you want to make the Guernica, you can choose a small section and make it. But I'm going to give you a little demonstration of how to go about it. And then you can continue that so that at least you have some guidance. If you have masking tape, use a masking tape to create borders. That way, when you're painting, you don't have to worry too much about the borders. Now, I'm going to make this painting, which I haven't spoken about. This boy seated with a cigarette. So when you choose your painting, first just look for proportions, how you want, what the proportions of the picture are, and how you want to place them. So in this case, if I were to draw a square, And then I will draw a line at about half, and then a quarter, 3/4. Then I get a sense that the distance or the added distance or length is about 1/4 more than the width of the painting. So this is an easy way, even without a scale, to proportion your painting. And then I will continue to make such lines so that I get some sense of placement of all the lines. And this is pretty much a standard practice. These squares may or may not be equal. In this case, the equal squares do seem to make sense. So I'm going to share this screenshot with you, so you don't have to make it. But in the others, if you're choosing another picture, you can make your own scale and work with that. So I'm going to start off with marking the width that I want to make. Now, I'm going to suggest to you to make your picture on the left, and on the right, in just about so much space, I would like you to write your personal impression of the painting. A little bit, I'll tell you later what all I would like you to write, so that you can do a little more research, find out some more information about the painting that you choose, write about that, and write your experience about making this study. So here's how we do it. I will take this tape and mark an area here. If you don't have a tape, you can just draw a line. I'm going to mark the width that I want to make. And using the same tape, I can fold it in half and even in quarters. I don't even have to fold it in quarters. So I get the half point, the exact half point. All right. Now the second tape, I can do the same thing over here. I can make 4 parts of this. And then I have to just add one more part. So I get the length as well. So I have 5 parts to 4. That's the proportion that I'm looking for. That's it. It's easier to do it this way just to save some time, and also to get your eye used to sizes, so that when you're on the go and you want to make a painting, you're not dependent on scales all the time. Now, of course, please measure that you have planted this straight. Very often, when you come to the middle of the page, we cannot gauge whether we are in a straight line or not. And in the big picture, it doesn't matter. Right. Now that I have this, I can go ahead and draw all the lines, but I want to reduce the lines that I'm drawing. So I'm going to just draw pertinent points. And let me share the image. I've shared the screenshot. So according to the screenshot, I have the cap in this section about so big. And make these lines fairly loose. Don't make them too firm. Avoid making any details right now. Just make the outlines of shapes according to this, the proportion that you see. Our painting is not going to look exactly like the original. We are not making a copy, so it's fine. The intention here is to see, first, just see the lines like we see in any picture. And second, to see how when you make the line with your own hand, how it translates, what kind of meaning it creates on paper. That is the enjoyable part. One wonderful aspect of making these studies is seeing how we perceive or use things like line and form and color. And then when we are forced to suspend choice and follow the choices made by the artists that we choose to study, we often see that what we might have considered a mistake is an important factor in that artist's painting. That can be so freeing, especially if you are the types who is a stickler for perfection. I have a student who, if I give her a task to just draw a loose illustration, that is a nightmare for her because she is such a control freak. She has no idea how to loosen up. She has joined class in order to loosen up, so she is aware of her problem. But when I give her the task, she takes a deep breath, and her first reaction is to say, it's going to be terrible. In this painting, just look at how easily he has drawn the foot. At some point, when we start making the feet, you will go through a very painful process. You will think of the foot is sometimes even more difficult to paint or draw than even the faces. So when you remember this simplification of the foot, you really start appreciating your own work. You know that there is a lot of leeway. So here's
Should we
another
also
thing.
start?
Sorry?
Should we also start?
Yeah, you can begin now. So I just wanted to show you how to start. And once you have made the drawing, I can show you how you can do the painting also. It's fairly simple. You just have to replicate the shapes and colors and the shades. That's about it. There's nothing more that I'm going to reveal. Try to avoid making details. Make the uh, larger shapes. There are a couple of very interesting movies on Picasso. There's one in which Anthony Hopkins plays Picasso. That's wonderful. You have to see it. It's called Surviving Picasso. And it's about his third wife, I think, who was a very strong lady who wouldn't take his nonsense. And she was much younger. Do you guys have pastels or color pencils?
Yeah, both.
So you can do part of the painting in, depending on which one you're making. You can make part of it in paint. So if there are large blocks of color, you can use paint to fill that out and then use color pastels to paint out the rest details. In this painting, the one that I'm doing, the background would look very nice in pastel. Many places I can see that the pastel will look much better than paint, just because of that smudge effect. Incidentally, there is a nice exhibition at NMACC on pop artists. They have, I believe they have Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and who else is there? Roy Lichtenstein. Very nice. So the 10th of Feb, the exhibit is on till the 11th. 10th of Feb, I'm in Bombay. And I've just informed all the students in every batch that if anyone wants to come for the exhibit on the 10th,
Okay.
we can coordinate and then we can all see it together. It would be really nice.
No, I can do that.
Good. So I'm coming for Mahindra Blues on the 10th, 11th.
Ah,
And I was in Bombay for Mamma Mia. And I wanted to go for the exhibit, but the people I was with are not really art interested. One of my daughters is, the other one was just hungry. So she said, no, please, can we please go home? So I said, all right, then I'll come separately.
I could join.
Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm
So,
painting some of the colors. Yeah, go on.
sorry, the one I selected to copy or to draw is the lady or whatever with two color face, like the two different eyes, the one with the yellow hat. So
Huh.
why does it look like it's a woodcut? It's not. It's brush, right? Like it has the effect of a woodcut, like the dark black.
1 minute. The first picture is the first picture? No, it's the print. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is
So
a print. It is a
this
print.
is the okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There is a story about this.
Difficult to get the same effect with a brush, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
but
think
this, so here you can get the effect even with brush, but it's unnecessarily tedious. But you can
yeah.
get this with a marker. If you have a marker or maybe a sketch pen or brush pen, you can do that. Let me just show you the ones that we've done.
The thing, the one that you are doing, which part were you saying could be done in the pastel so to get the smudgy effect?
The backdrop. So look at the colors where you see you see a smudge effect, right? On the top left over here. So there you can use color pastels. Yeah. So this was done in markers.
Okay.
And this is the title actually. With a hat, 1962, block 1072. So this is a print.
Yeah.
And if you count it, it's got only 5 colors. Because for printing, you need very specific colors. This Cubist style goes so well for printing.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And imagine, yeah, there's no shades. So there's
No shades, yeah, deliberately.
Mhm.
But doesn't the blue look like a shadow? Because
Yeah.
it transition from the white highlight to the yellow, to the red, to the blue. So the context of the red makes it look like a shadow. It's just lovely. If he
I
had
find
wanted
it
to, there could
difficult
be an
to
overlay
understand
of black and make it look like a gray shade or a darker shade.
find it very puzzling because I think my mind doesn't think like this at all. So how can one look at a real thing and see it like this?
I know, isn't it? So it's not, it may be easy to dismiss it, but when we start making it and you think that, okay, this is supposed to be a person, it is really puzzling. So Picasso has said this also, that he spent 4 years to learn how to paint like an artist. And then the rest of his life, he spent learning how to paint like a child. That was something that he deliberately intended to do for himself. Now, one should spend some time in trying to parse out the meaning behind this. Why would you want to paint like a child in the first place? And I suppose this is something that comes to artists after they have come to the pinnacle, I suppose. So, because at a young age he was very prolific, he uh, he had overcome the regular challenges that one might have fairly fast. Could be raw talent, could just be his ability. Maybe he was just a genius in that field. But if you think about it, all uh, all the people who go to art school learn how to become artists, and by the end of their 4 or 5 year term, they come out with absolute equal ability. So they all are able to do fabulous portraits. They know how to make animal illustrations, landscape, they know oil, watercolor, all that they know. So skill and technique and medium is mastered. And then for the rest of their lives, they have to develop their unique style, because that is not something that they are taught. That is something that they have to create for themselves. Now, here's something that I often tell my students, that when you don't know uh, and you don't have control, or you, whatever you're doing is pretty much just a shot in the dark, that is when you are actually in touch with your authentic self. You are in touch with your authentic ability. The colors that you choose are spontaneous and intrinsic choices. They may not be studied. You may not know anything about composition. You may not know anything about how colors work. So your color theory might be very shoddy. All of that, I admit. But what you create is unique because it is yours. Now, for many people, when they want to learn art, that is the one part that they want to erase. They want to be able to make something that they think a skilled artist makes. That is true. There's no doubt in that. But what they sacrifice is their own ability. And because they see it as a disability. It's almost like that movie, the Disney movie, Little Mermaid. That instead, I mean, she's got a great voice. She doesn't have feet, so what? But she barters that for feet and in for something ridiculous.
So
And
I
then,
was thinking pretty much the same for most art. Like even in singing or music, you would want to sing like somebody you know or you've heard, but you don't, it takes you time to find your own voice, your own style, your own.
You're right, yeah. In any kind of, I guess, creative field where individuality, I guess, matters, I think it would be the same. You're right.
Just the doubt.
Huh.
I feel like the pencil work that I've done is dark. I don't know how much of it to erase because then I don't know if there'll be reference to know
Okay.
where to paint.
Are you making the same fellow?
No, I'm making this half here looking face
Okay.
and the hand and the half
The
of
first,
thing.
The first picture.
Yes.
Okay.
But and so apart from the pencil, next is I don't know where to which color to start painting with.
Okay, start with the lighter colors
Okay.
and start with the washes. Don't forget the stripes. Just look at the color in the backdrop. It's like a mix of colors. Wait,
Okay.
show you on
Hmm.
screen. So we are talking about the same thing. Is this the
Yes.
one? All right.
Yes. Yes.
So there is a yellow, lemon yellowish wash on the right hand side. Ignore that. That will be the color of your paper. Go for these darker yellow patches. This would be your lightest color. Also paint some of those lines on the hat.
Hmm.
We are going to make the gray on top of that. Don't make the yellow on top of the gray because that will distort your image totally.
Okay.
So it will look slightly different from the hat that we see over here, but that's okay. Then
Okay.
go to the bodice. There you can make the backdrop first, and then you can make these lines. The backdrop also is very subtle. So if
Light blue, is it
yeah,
like
it's
a
just a
wash?
wash, correct. Light blue, green, lots of colors happening here in the background. So you create that wash. Then you can
Okay.
create the green wash around the hat and around the face.
Okay.
Finally, when you've done that, then come certain darker colors. So you can make a second layer of green, which is darker on the left. Then you move into the gray blue of the left side of the painting.
Hmm.
And then you can make the black.
Okay.
Okay,
And
that's
how
it.
identical do the colors have to be?
They won't be as close
हाँ
as
मतलब हाँ. Should I even attempt with is what I was gonna ask.
no. So color matching is we are using a different medium, so it's
Okay.
not going to match. So don't worry about it too much.
Okay.
It's
And the pencil I should erase? Sorry.
pencil lines. If you feel the need to erase them. But the colors are fairly dark. So and later on, there's a lot of black over there also. So we
Mm-hmm.
might not need to erase. And if it is seen through the paint also, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
The strokes also, when you make them, try to see how the strokes in the painting are also not very precise. They're like made with this energy. That is part of the identity of the painting also. In some places, if you feel like it, you can try painting with a slightly dry brush. So you get this texture. So when you paint with oil, oils have a very distinctive feel. They're just not like watercolor at all. You really have to push the color to work. They are very stubborn colors. They and it's like those workers who don't want to work. You have to just tell them, "Kya please, thoda karo yaar. It's for your own good." And then you have to also, and then when they work, they're really good. There's no doubt about that. So watercolor is like small kids who want to go out and play. Oil colors, I sometimes feel they are like geriatric. You really have to give them some goose so that they will go out and play. So you'll see the brushes used for oil paint also are very stiff. You really have to push them into the canvas. So that also makes the strokes very deliberate. Even if they are light strokes, sometimes you'll see, at least where the highlights are made, the strokes are made with just the paint um, being deposited right on top of another layer of paint. Even in that, you'll see that the colors are so individual. They do not want to mix with other colors. Like over here, watercolor, they don't have any problem making friends with other neighborhoods. Whether they have come here before or after or whatever, it doesn't matter. They will just go ahead and meet them with joy. With oil paint, it's very different. They're all consolidated personalities, and all they know is to sit next to each other. They won't mix, they won't mingle. So you have to really, really push them. So if you have an old brush, in some places where it's very scratchy, you can take an old dry brush and you can make those marks with that old brush with the brush I'm using is not wet. I've hydrated the paint, but my brush is dry. So I get a nice scratchy effect. And the reason why I'm using an old brush is because I definitely want bristles that are not too fine. I don't want a nice sharp point. Then I can go back and forth, uneven lines, uneven application, and create a more textured look. See? So remember, never throw out your brushes. You never know what technique you might use them for.
So in this phase, after the yellow,
Mhm.
I should go for the blue, the green, or the red, the red.
Um, Red. You can go for red first. Another thing that you can enjoy in some of these paintings is the use of color. There is there's such restraint in the use of color. So coming from the background that we have culturally, where we though have color coming out of our eyes, nose, mouth, everywhere. All colors must be used. So it's just another experience often for many people to appreciate the brevity in the use of color. So in the past, some students have found that they they would really enjoy making their paintings colorful, and they thought that the more color they use, the better the painting looked. I think this thought comes from school times,
Hmm.
where it was assumed that to get good marks in your art exam, use lots of color. Color everything. Every surface has to be colored. And I feel really sad to report that that is still true. That has not changed, unfortunately. And somehow, in the absence of any objective parameter to gauge art on, and definitely not enough information or education and art given to the students, this is at least one factor that they can say, look, I gave you 8 on 10 and that person 9 on 10 because he used one extra color. It is a travesty, but that is how it exists. So from that background, when some of the students have come and done this, their first reaction would be, why can't I use more color? Why are you stopping us from using color? And not with this, but in other projects, they just wouldn't get it. So when they come, when they make this uh, study, they have no choice. They have to do what the artist has done. And it's only once they've done it, they realize that the beauty of a painting is not dependent on the number of colors you choose. Okay, so now I'm going to pull out my soft pastels to just test out how this works. I haven't worked much in soft pastels, though I've been fascinated with the medium.
If my wash is drying very quickly, it means there's less water in it. No?
Yeah. Or even your brush size. What brush size do you have?
There's a very chotu, 4.
No, use either an 8 or a 10. Use a nice big size brush
Okay.
because that would hold more medium. So even if it's a small area, use that to spread out. A 4 would be this size. So at best, that won't even constitute as a wash. I think this is going to work well. I'm going to make some of the black lines and black patches in paint first. And then I will make the pastels around that. In this one painting, see that at one point, this fellow's fingers come on top of the pants here. It's quite a cute, interesting addition. I had almost not seen it. So the thick line of the pant goes around the nails, and the nails are almost like claws. I made them short also. So my last nail is going to be this big. Oh gosh. Thank God for cubism and surrealism. It won't matter. I have often used this topic for kids. And I think this is if you have any kids nearby who visit with you, who you want to do art with, this is a very nice subject to make. The kids that I worked with, mostly just friends' kids, this was some 20 years ago. For them, the idea that they can replicate a Picasso painting itself is extremely empowering. So when you start off with a topic like this, you never have a problem of confidence. They never feel the need to, I guess, prove to anybody that what they're doing is fine. Now, we have to hope and pray that they have a good teacher after that. Because that is something that I can't control. So once they do this and they have confidence, then they are, at least in my classes, they are very vocal and they are extremely opinionated. So not just this one, any of the, I guess, important artists' reproductions. So somewhere there is, their inhibitions are evaporated. With the Cubist paintings, however, whatever goof ups you make, they only add to the, I guess, the more Cubist-ness of the painting.
I'm realizing that fast.
So do you think this painting is liberating or stress-inducing?
Started off thinking it's going to be stressful to how do I get those exact, then I realize you don't have to try and create the exact stroke because that's somebody else's brush. I can't control it the
Correct.
same way.
Yeah. And for that matter, the artist himself won't be able to do it.
I was going to say that last time I'd attended Van Gogh's class as well.
Mm.
So that class and this one, it just feels so liberating. It just boosts my confidence to even touch watercolors because otherwise those perfect shade karo,
Yeah.
it should be this so much amount of pigment, so much amount of water, and it just feels like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to get it right. But this feels like playing with paper and color. It's too much fun.
Correct. Yeah. You can, so this is a great exercise to do. Whenever you feel you want to dabble, just pick any painting of Picasso's and try to do the same exercise. And they're all super fun. They have, there's lots of stuff happening in the paintings. So you can use these for literally, I mean, you could make an maybe the next year's calendar or something with this. So make them in the same size, A5 size, like this. And at the end of the year, just paste this all onto an old A5 size calendar, or scan these and make this into your own calendar also. And put a note there, of course, that these are yours, inspired by. So this is one thing that I've had conversations with a lot of people with. And unfortunately, after I've spoken this, nobody's come and debated this with me. But I have often been introduced to young kids by their parents as saying that my son or my daughter is very good at art, very interested, but they can only copy, they cannot make anything original. And I have come across this multiple times, almost on, let's say, monthly basis. There is some person who comes and tells me this about their child, and sometimes about themselves also. So, over the years that I've worked as an artist and also taught art, there's one thing that I've realized. Original art, or our understanding of original art, is very different from person to person. So for some people, original is what you can just think of and make on paper. That's one. Then another one is where you don't have to look at any subject, and somebody tells you to draw something, and you should be able to draw from memory. So there's two things: original from memory, original as in not even memory, you have to just like spontaneously explode into some creative energy and make it. So there was an article I read which supported my thought, so I became a little more confident. There is hardly anything now that we can make that we can call original at all. Whatever we make is a sum total of our influences up till that point. It could be something we've read, something we've seen, something we've experienced. So we can't really call that which we create original. So that's one part. Now, when somebody is copying, like we are copying right now, it is not worthless. It does something to us to build our understanding of the subject. And this understanding cannot be dismissed just because it's a copy. I think many parents land up dismissing kids' artwork if it is a copy, hoping that that will make them make something original. So even if the child is supposed to make a portrait, you cannot make a portrait without a reference image. So this thing about Bagun karu shakto, he can see this painting and make whatever, is a good skill. Mostly the parents who are asking for that original art are non-artists. That's understandable. But somewhere being original is equated to being like, it's like immaculate conception. It should just come to you. And I have suffered this myself because I have also been under the impression that I should think about this. So I've sat and thought and waited for inspiration to strike. And then I gave up. And then I realized that in the time that inspiration comes to me, let me make some paintings. And I would see something and make paintings. And eventually I realized that original, what we term as original art, is purely an original amalgamation of various things that you have seen and experienced and want to express, and also can make in the first place. So if you have not experienced, I guess, what can we say?
Snow.
Yeah, I was just about to say extreme cold. Even when you read a poem about it, you won't know what it really means, and you might just dismiss the person's suffering as being dramatic or something like that. But once you experience that, then you can relate, and then you can relate it also, relate with it and relate to other people and express it to other people. The same goes for ability. If you have never created a landscape, you would not be able to think of an original landscape and paint that, because you need the ability to paint the landscape also. So if you look at, say, surrealist painting, that is an original idea. It's like a dreamscape. I'm going to show you a few paintings of surrealists. These are paintings by different artists. And you will see how they're very bizarre landscapes. But you can see bits and pieces of different kinds of different subjects. Many of them we've covered in our classes also. You see a little bit of portraiture. You see maybe houses, objects like umbrellas, all sorts of stuff that we have done, but the mishmash of things is different. The context is different. The objects around it are different, and that's what makes this more surrealist. But you should at least be able to draw those objects. And how are you going to draw them unless you learn them? And for learning them, you will have to copy something. So that's where it begins. But now, making something like this, I really love this painting. This is called, I think this is called Persistence of Time or something like that. It's a beautiful Dali. Persistence of Memory, something like that. It's a very nice title. So this painting, where he has shown clocks that are melted onto three-dimensional surfaces, a weird-looking face that is just lying around, only a face. This is an original thought. This is a thought where he has put together several visuals, changed their meaning, their identities, and then put them together. This, to some extent, is original. But he has still used a clock because it's a metaphor. It is something that the person who is going to see this painting is going to relate with, and then is going to create some kind of meaning for themselves. So he can't be any more original than that. So when a small child takes a picture like or creates a copy of a picture of an object, or sees a picture and makes an object or painting, they are building the skill of being able to do that. Then another thing that this one actually it was not fair on my part to say that to the parent, but I said it because I was getting a little tired of their insisting that the child who was, this child was, I think, in the seventh standard, and they felt that he must do something original. So I had to put a stop to that demand, and I asked them, have you done anything original in the field that you are in? And they said, no, but we are not creative people. We've never done any art. So again, uh, the idea that original work can only come from an artist, not from anyone else, is again wrong.
Unfair.
So I said, okay, you are probably in your mid to late 30s or close to 40, and you have not done anything original. And your excuse is that you are not in the creative field. I grant you that maybe the opportunities in the creative field are more. Hopefully, if you're an accountant, you're not doing anything creative, because then that would be really, really bad. But would it be so bad if your child does something original and creative that nobody has done at the age of 30? Because that is when anything original is going to come. He has no life experience, nothing to make his original art. It is not going to be, it's not going to be like an angel comes and sits on his shoulder and gives him an idea. Again, then that is not original. So stop that expectation, and let him just enjoy what he's doing without any expectation. Fortunately, the parents were very sweet, so they didn't get offended. But when I said he'll do original work only when he's 30, their jaws dropped. They thought he's going to be like Prodigy, make something at 18 and or 20 or whatever, 13. If he can draw so well, he should be able to do that. So unrealistic. And they would probably drive him to madness in this expectation. And then he'll give up art completely. All right, so now here I'm going to use we've already passed 6:30, yeah, by the way, just so in case you have any other engagements, let them know. We'll be another 10 minutes. We're almost done. There's nothing more to do. I just want to finish this and do that most satisfying task of peeling off my tape.
I had a question.
Yes.
The black, should I use pastel instead of paint? Or should I paint first and then
No,
black?
try whatever you're comfortable with. I have not used pastels much, so that's why I'm treading into that space very gingerly. But if you have used it and you're comfortable with it, go ahead, give it a shot.
As a child, yeah, where otherwise I have. Oh my God, this is so different.
It's
These are
not
not like wax crayons.
No,
Oh, this
no.
is what I was expecting.
It's like chalk, isn't it? Is it
Yeah,
is it like chalk?
Yeah, it comes on your fingers.
yeah, that's why. And it's also opaque, so this is the best part over here. So when you make the
Yeah.
black, some of these lines you can make like this. Oh, this negative looks so good.
Okay, this one.
All right, so I think I am done. I'm sure there are a few things that remain, but I'm gonna untape this. This tape is reusable, huh? So you can use it in, you can put it in the back of your book and reuse it. I'm just gonna make this a little gray texture so that the bottom doesn't have an unfinished edge. That's about it.
So cool. I'm not going to show my WIP. I will finish it and then I will share it. And then
Yeah.
you give feedback.
No problem. There we go. Now I'll look for more information on this painting. And since I've used a color that can go, I'm going to put a little tracing paper on top of this so that the color remains protected. We don't usually need to do that with watercolor. And let me show you some other Picassos that I've done in the other batches.
For pastels, do you have to use a what is it, what they call fixative?
I think so. I have no idea with pastels what is to be done. I'm gonna have to learn all of that. This is the
Wow. Oh, this is nice.
This is also easy to do.
I like the hair, the texture that is
Yeah,
showing through.
So cool.
this was completely done in watercolor.
The colors look phenomenal. It just
Aren't
looks so
they?
cool. Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
do you see a change in your opinion about the painting after you have made the painting?
They just look so much better, awesomer. And it does not seem easy. I mean, it's easy, but it's not easy. If
So
you know what
again,
I'm
see,
saying.
that's another thing. When you look at it, your impression was that this is going to be tough to do from whatever your experience with making art is. And then that changed. And now that you have made it, there could be something that you will take away and make another painting with. Now, imagine if you were to just employ these tactics and paint someone's portrait, similar, somebody is just sitting around. I think you might be able to make like a boxy shape. And on top of that, if you feel they're wearing maybe a printed top or something, replicate that color and just simplify the pattern. You might just be able to recreate something similar in a Cubist style. So you should give it a shot. So take a picture of the person sitting in that form, in whatever. You don't have to, again, imagine. And then try to make something. It can start off with something that looks like this. And because then it is going to be your original piece to some extent, even if the line of the leg is slightly straighter, or there is no right or wrong over there. You have to decide what looks good.
This is just too much fun. This is amazing. It takes the pressure off. Even if you're doing somebody's portrait, it doesn't have to look like that person.
Yeah, and the end result is lovely. So here's another thing that I always think about when you think of art. We always again think about beautiful, but sometimes a piece of art can also be compelling. So what I mean by that is being able to attract your attention and engage your mind a fraction longer. That is a compelling piece. So this could be anything. This could be a sculpture, this could be a painting, or even sometimes when you're just walking down the street, there could be a color combination on things that could be compelling. And that's good enough. So when you make artwork, we are making it from the other side, right? And we are hoping that it becomes compelling. So what over time, the stuff that you make, some of those pieces start having that quality. And for the most part, you don't know how it became that. You just see it every time you see a book, you look at it and you are forced to stop and see it. It may not be the most precise, most beautiful piece, but there's something arresting in that. I would say don't try to investigate too much. Sometimes there's just this ephemeral ability of an artwork to engage and leave it at that. Through just that engagement, you will start seeing that it is the color that you feel attracted to, or the way the composition has just worked out that seems engaging, that it's got a certain flow of form. There is something that you have just hit upon by chance. So if we want to remain authentic, I would say make more artwork and allow for that chance to happen again. If we start predicting it and controlling it, then we are moving into design. Then you can just study color, form, how much space uses how much color, and then design it and then make it. But I don't think it would have the same reaction from you. It would be far too controlled as the original first piece was that you were just impressed by. So if you want to recreate many of that kind of feeling, I would suggest tear out that piece from your drawing book and paste it somewhere in your environment where you keep passing by. But you don't need to frame it. You just need to keep it out. You will start absorbing something about it. And from there, the next time you sit to paint, and where you are supposed to freely paint, you will start repeating some of those aspects and allow yourself to goof up, allow yourself to go in the wrong direction, thinking that maybe a particular texture or a color in the same place might work, but it might not work. But it's important to go through that process so that you eliminate that, and then there's something else you can do. So the more places you do that, the better you get. So I often think of this like a roadmap. The first person who made a map, when you didn't have satellites, that person had to go through various unknown spaces in order to put a plant sign there saying, don't go here, don't go here. If you want to go from A to B, you will go through all XYZ just in order to get to the right location that you have identified as B. But if you don't place those markers, you will keep going in those directions and you will never know. So the day that you have to go from A to B, you will never know how to get there. So not getting that first time round is a good thing. That means you're looking at more and more options. Okay, so I think we can call it a day. I will share this image with you because it's finished now. And maybe in a couple of hours, even the recording will be available. Okay, all right. So we shall, next week, are both of you attending? Would you know?
Yeah. Yes.
It will be the
what date?
3rd.
Huh.
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay, so next month we're beginning flowers. That's very nice. Neat.
Painting, no?
Drawing, painting, crafting flowers, everything. Flowers is a wonderful topic. You'll love it. We're starting
Okay,
with some
cool.
very basic stuff, so don't worry about it. I'll be sharing the schedule for 2024 over the weekend, so everyone knows what to expect.
Cool. ठीक है.
Okay, chalo, see you. Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
See you
To you
too.
too.
See you soon. Thank you.